What's up, everybody? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You, with episode 3 of Brothers Learning from Sisters. Now, this powerful series is really all about brothers learning from dynamic and powerful sisters who are doing amazing things in the world and helping to give us different vantage points on approaching life and winning in life. And so when I bring a lady on here, when I bring a sister on here, just know that she's doing the doggone thing. And this episode is unlike any episode that I've done because I got my first cousin on the show today. And this is none other than the Reverend. I got in trouble for not calling her Reverend one time, but the Reverend Olivia Dorsey Tate. She's a wife, she's a mom, but then she's also what she calls a queenie. I.e., she's a grandma as well. She holds a master's degree in clinical counseling. And as we talk through her story, you'll find that she's overcome a lot of challenges and also loss, which helped to kind of refine her faith and help her to get to where she is today. But that also opened her up to understand how mental health and faith intersect. And that's a lot of what we really want to talk about today, is like the intersection of faith and mental health, because a lot of times they don't play well together, but we're going to play with it together today. All right. So people listening, brothers, ladies, everybody tuning in to Brothers Learning from Sisters, let's welcome my cousin, my girl, my sister, Reverend Olivia Dorsey Tate. What's up, girl?
Hey, how you doing?
I am wonderfully well. How you?
Good. I am good. I'm excited to sit here and kick it with you and let a couple of people just listen in on one of our regular conversations that we have often. So I'm excited to be here hanging out with you.
And that's really cool because and that's what's partly what's special about this one is we're basically letting the world peek in to what we talk about on a regular basis, because we go deep at times. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And, on the phone for an hour or two. Yes, absolutely.
but it's a good thing. And so it's like, it's so valuable. It's like, when you give, when you learn, teach, right? That's what Maya Angelou famously stated. And so because I'm getting so much and you're giving so much and we're going back and forth in our conversations, it's imperative that we do that for everybody else. And so we just sharing a little bit today with the listening audience. So thank you. So before we get started, I always like to have the guests give shout outs, because who are we without the people that allow us to basically be our best selves? And so take a moment before we get into your story to give a shout out to those individuals, those groups that basically are helping you or allowing you to be the best version of yourself.
Wow. So first and foremost, and obviously God, like that, I'm Team Jesus 110%. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And God has blessed me with an amazing life partner. My husband, I declare God made him, created him specifically for me. And so shout out to George and to my girls, to my sisters, and even my sister friends and sister preachers. It's amazing how God will uniquely expand your family. We have family that we choose, and then family that, we are born into. And so I have an amazing community of people that love me, that push me, that support me, and that help me be the best version of myself. And my therapist, me too, even me. I have the therapist has a therapist for sure. So that I can be the best version of myself for sure.
That's amazing. And it's awesome that you said your therapist has a therapist. I had a guy on Black Fathers Now, and this brother has counseled numerous leaders from around the world. And he said, if you don't have a coach, a mentor, and a therapist, you're going to have issues leading at a high level. And when we were talking about it, because he was obviously talking to the audience and all of that, and I stopped him. I was like, brother, you're talking to me. Like literally, like when you think about yourself, if you don't have a coach, a mentor, and a therapist, you're going to have issues leading at a high level. And a lot of us don't think about that in regards to life. We think about it, just that if you're a professional athlete or if you're, an actor or actress or whatever, but people at the top of their games, Like literally, I'm talking about the top of the top, like the CEOs and the this and the that, and the people that you see all over the place. Most of them have a therapist, a coach, and a mentor on speed dial.
Absolutely. And not only that, most of them will have different ones for different areas of their lives, so as a preacher, if all of the other preachers that I am around are people that I'm mentoring, then how am I growing, right? So I have people that hold me accountable, that that will check me, that will look at my stuff and say, hey, wait, like, have you thought about this, that, and the other? So in the different areas, I have a mentor in terms of my therapist. I have a clinical supervisor that I talk cases with, because, it's new stuff every day, right? So yeah, and it's important to have those people in the different areas in which you occupy, right? Because if you're the smartest one in the room,
you need to leave. You need to look, check this out. Look, I've dropped this before. Nipsey Hussle said, if you don't get inspired by your circle, you don't have a circle, you have a cage.
Absolutely.
Like literally. So to your point, like if you need that, like, and I like the fact that you mentioned that you need that sometimes in various aspects of your life, because everybody's not an expert in everything. You got people who are experts in one aspect of life, but they're a novice or a beginner in other parts. You might have a person who is a financial guru, but can't get their health in check. So they got to go and work with somebody at the gym to get this. But when it comes to money, they got it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. And I think that that's so intentional, because the Bible talks about us being a part of a body, and how the toe can't do what the finger does, right? The eye can't look at the foot and be like, I'm way up here and you're there, what have you, because at the end of the day, we need all the parts of the body in order to function. I think that's what really makes this pandemic such a unique time for us, because we were created to be in community. When God created created Eve, he created Eve not just because Adam needed somebody to warm him up, right? But because, there were animals, he had other things around him to keep him company, but there is something about the human connection that we are built and made for, right? And so I believe that God is so intentional about not giving one person all of the gifts. Right?
That's
Can
real.
you imagine how biggity, folks will get if they got all of the gifts, right? So I gotta reach out to you, because I don't know how to do this, that, and the other. I'm not a technical person, or whatever it is that God has given me and gifted me to do. He equips me by partnering me with people that have gifts different than mine. And I'm gonna give you something, you're gonna give me something, we're gonna work this thing, work it out, right? Absolutely.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful, because when you stop and you think about it, it makes you also have discernment on situations in which one individual person tries to be the gatekeeper to everything. So when you're talking, because again, I was thinking about like, yeah, it makes sense to have a person for this, a person for that and all. But when you then have this person or this individual positioning themselves as the one-stop shop for everything, that should give you pause to say, hold up, let me think a little bit. Because I know everybody's not gifted in everything. Who is this individual that's trying to position themselves as the one-stop shop for anything that you need? You come through me. Is that legit their calling, their gift, or is that somebody who's trying to just capitalize on an opportunity of being the most convenient option? Like that's,
Absolutely. Our Uncle Bruce, one of the things he used to say all the time, because he was so gifted, and dude can build a house. He didn't have all the certifications and all of that kind of stuff, but he would do a lot of repairs and things like that. But anyway, he would tell me all the time, I'd be like, oh, you did such a good job, he'd be like, yeah, I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. A jack of all trades, but a master of none. And that really, and I know he didn't create that quote. I've heard it other places, but it's a powerful statement in that you can be a jack of all trades, meaning you can dibble and dabble in a whole lot of things, but if you don't take the time to master one particular thing, then all you'll never be a master of anything. You'll just be the jack of all trades, the jack that people need and can pull for the different things or what have you. So again, it's important for us to recognize, like, you can be gifted and you can work on that particular area, that particular thing that God has gifted you with, without being required to know all the things. Like it's just not possible.
And I'm gonna tell you, what's powerful about what you just said, that definitely will be a lead into what we jump into after we talk about your story. But it's the whole concept of faith, the faith community, and mental health, right? Because especially in the Black community, there's this whole notion of, everything must go through this one person, or, maybe the pastor is the one that's supposed to do my mental health counseling, my so-and-so and my this. And the reality is they're gifted and they're called from the spiritual perspective to teach you the Bible and to help you apply biblical principles to life, but they might not be trained with dealing with your mental health issue. And you might need someone who has been legit trained and is a master of dealing with mental health issues to help you through that, especially dealing with it's an opportune time to talk about something like this in the midst of a pandemic where people have been completely uprooted and disrupted from their normal, we're using air quotes here, their normal life. And so things that maybe had been buried because you were busy with life are now sprouting up because you no longer have life to bury them. And now you're confronting them face to face. And you need to understand that there's some different, like we mentioned, there are different therapists, different coaches, different mentors for different aspects. You have different people, different groups, different entities that are there for those different things in your life.
Absolutely. And even thinking about, within the mental health field, we have a variety of specialties. So even as a trained clinician, we have general knowledge about most things, I should say. We have a general knowledge about most things, but most of us, even after we get our go through our licensure process and all of that, we specialize in a specific area. So again, even within that particular field, you're going to have specialties. So like you can have a business coach. And then, like you said earlier, financial coach, you can have a, motivational coach. You have all of these different pockets and specialties, but because once again, that one coach cannot be a specialty or be a master of all the things. It's just not logical.
It's not logical. And it's, and it's interesting, like we're talking about logic, but we're also talking about experience here too, because and what I really want to jump into before we get into, that intersectionality of, faith and mental health is I want you to talk a little bit about your journey, because from an experience perspective, you've overcome some health challenges. You've overcome loss. Like, I'm going to throw something out there right now that sent chills up my spine when you mentioned it to me. And it was the whole concept of, you said, Mike, when this is one of our private conversations, you said, Mike, I'm 42 years old. And when I look at it, I'm now an elder in my family because I've lost everybody that's an elder to me. It's like, when you said that, I was just like, it just chills up my spine just saying it now, because it gave me a different context on dealing with life and dealing with various circumstances, but then bringing it all together. But those experiences help you to become who you are. So walk through your story a little bit, and you can go as in, I'm your cousin, so I know you, but you can go as in depth as you like, but share a little bit with the family here, a little bit of your story.
Sure. So heck, when I was born, but literally, I never set out to be different, to be unique. I literally was born that way. I was born that way. And what I mean by that is, I was born in 1977, before there were all of these tests during pregnancies and, sonograms, and you knew everything about the baby before they were born and this, that, and the other, because context matters.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about, the year in which I was born or the time frame in which I was born. So when I came out, I was a surprise. My parents tell the story of how, the air was almost sucked out of the room, because it was like, oh, wait, what's wrong? And so my mom tells me the story about how, like there's this silence in the room, and then all of a sudden they whisked me off, to another room, and then they were, preparing her and getting her ready and all this, that, and the other. And meanwhile, she's asking, like, well, where's my baby? What's going on? And she tells me it seems like it was like hours before someone comes back to tell her, something's going on with the baby. Like, we've never seen anything like it before, but there's something, wrong with her. Her joints seem like they're fused together. She's not, moving normally and all of that. Normal, we'll talk a little bit about what normal is all about perception, right?
That's right.
So, but anyway, that was their description, and they were concerned about whether or not my parents would want me, because they didn't know anything. They couldn't even name my prognosis at that time. I was probably a few months old before they were finally able to give me a label, and even since then are not really sure if that's what it is. So in a nutshell, when I was born, several of my joints were fused together in a different way. So my skeletal system doesn't look like anything anyone has ever seen to date before. And they don't know why. They don't have any inclination as to, what happened is, wasn't alcohol use or anything of the sorts. There's no labeling to it or anything of the sorts, right? And so, but anyway, I am blessed because not only did my parents want me, my family did. And so I often tell people I was born into the right family. I was truly blessed, and I thrived well because of the family that I was born into. And so I can never, so even when you talk about giving the shout out or what have you, I have to honor the fact that I am doing as well as I exceeded all expectations of everything that the doctors expected of me. They didn't think I would live long. And then when I did live long, they said, well, she'll never walk. Then when I did start walking, they said, well, she'll never be able to go to school and, and function and do like the other kids do. And then I did. And then, oh, well, maybe you ought to consider putting her in special education classes. And so my mom said, well, but why though? Like, she moves different, but seemed like her mind is just as sharp as anybody else's. So again, my mom was my advocate, and I refused to, allow them to kind of just set me to the side. At one point, she tells me about how they wanted to fit me for a wheelchair, and she told them whether it was her faith or just her, Black womanhood, that said, my baby don't need no wheelchair. And then in the meantime, my mom was working and all of that. And so if she had had to find childcare for me, that would have been a unique situation, but she didn't, because I had grandparents that said, bring that baby and drop her off over here, and we're going to take good care of her. And that they did. Like I never wanted for anything. I got to all of the appointments I needed to, went to all of the different specialists and things like that. And that's one of the ways I have found myself to be advocates for other children or children with unique needs or what have you. And even I've found myself sharing my story one-on-one with parents of young children with different challenges, and sharing my story to tell them I am a success story because my parents advocated for me.
Woo! That's deep.
So you have option and an obligation to advocate for your child. Don't let them tell you that your child can't learn, that your child can't do this, that, and the other. If they can't do it, find someone who can.
Stop for a second. Stop. Fellas, again, this is Brothers Learning from Sisters and Reverend Olivia Dorsey Tate. See, I call her Libby. This is hard for me to call her full government name.
That's good.
But, but look, Olivia dropped the bar and she said, it is your responsibility to advocate for your child. And if you're not getting what you need to go to somebody else. Because again, it is your responsibility. I want you to really think about that. Sometimes we think it's the government's job or it's the school's job or it's the whatever. No, fam, it is your job to advocate for your child. Nobody's going to do it like you're going to do it. Think about that. That's a mic drop. Continue.
Absolutely. No one, and this is one of the things I tell clients often is, no one is more motivated to make your life better than you are. So if you're not motivated,
come on.
Right? So no one is going to be more motivated for your child to live a full life and to get the resources and assistance that they need as you do. You got to be the squeaky wheel and keep asking, keep knocking, keep challenging until you get, the answers that you need. And so again, I was really blessed to, have an amazing support system that made sure that I had everything that I needed. So much so that I really didn't know that I was different until I went to school and they told me that I was.
So again, pause there, because again, I told you, you're my first cousin and you talked about growing up at your grandparents' house. The unique thing about our relationship is that you and I both grew up there together. The first couple of years of my life were spent at grandmama and granddaddy's house like you. And so we were together. And it's funny that you're talking about the fact that you didn't realize you were unique until you went to school. When we grew up together, I never thought of you as unique or different. You were out there running behind. You might have been a step or two slower, but I was like, she's a girl. That's why. You know what I'm saying? It was never a scenario in which I noticed anything different. Grandma and granddad never treated you any different. The cousins, the family never did anything different. And so we never had this, Olivia has this and this, or, it's just like, so to your point, it wasn't until I was older and I would hear somebody say something that, I was just like, what? That's just my cousin Libby, and nothing. She just like everybody else until you're, like you mentioned, you didn't realize until you went into those formal settings. And so that's powerful, in which families can put structure in place, which then empower those that might have unique characteristics or circumstances, which then give them the power to grow into, individuals like yourself who are impacting the world with your message, your ministry, your therapy, and this and that. So that's powerful, yo.
What's unique even about, your perspective of the story is that to you, there was no different. This was just cousins. We were almost more like siblings than cousins. And although you may not have been able to name it, I would argue that your experience with me helped you to be more compassionate with other children when you did start school. So when you saw somebody that was different, you probably, without even realizing it, were more compassionate and more empathetic.
Wow.
Because they that was normal for you.
Wow. It's right? Funny. It's funny you say that. And it's funny, it's like just sitting here, it's like a trigger, because you're just like, why? I mean, you think back, because when I think about triggers, when I do performance and personal development coaching, one of the things you talk about is triggers and putting guardrails up against those triggers so that they don't take you out of your greatness, right? And when I think about myself, one of my triggers literally is bullies. Like people who mistreat other folks. It's like, I'm not one that's going to be ready to fight and all of that. But if I notice you mistreating somebody, that's when the dog come out. It's a different scenario. And I wonder, to your point, if that was a seed that was planted from back in the day in regards to empathy and compassion for people who might have a slightly different, way of life than I have. And it's funny you say that, because I never even thought about it in that light, but there could be some truth to that.
Absolutely. And so meanwhile, when I went to school there, I was met with children who had never seen anybody that looked differently than them, that moved differently than them, that required, certain, extra help, to move or this, that, and the other. So because that was something foreign to them and it was different, because we don't like different, right?
That's right.
We push against different, and we've been groomed to do that since we were young children. And so what happened is that this rambunctious, outgoing, invincible, little girl that had been planted and groomed into this powerful family was uprooted and placed into a space that was not ready for her.
Oh, see, stop for a second there. See, the space was not ready for you. It wasn't that you weren't ready for the space. The space wasn't ready for you. And so, fellas, again, brothers learning from sisters, don't always think that your uniqueness or what's different about you means that you're not ready for the show. Sometimes the show ain't ready for you. And it's okay for that to be the case, but don't minimize yourself. Don't dim your shine because you feel like you're not ready. The reality is they might not be ready for you. And you dropped another bar when you said, people aren't ready for different. People push against different, right? Because we have a natural tendency to gravitate to what's comfortable. And what's comfortable is what we understand. And what we understand are things that we see in the mirror. Right. And if we don't see, and so that comes to race, religion, your gender at times, your this, your that, we legitimately gravitate to things that are similar and we push against things that are different. But to me, those that grow, and you talked earlier about stretching with mentors and coaches and all of that, you don't grow and stretch anything by doing the same thing, because it's like with exercise, you end up plateauing. And you hit a plateau or you hit a peak, you don't grow anymore until you do something different to stretch out of that. So you dropping some bars. I hope y'all are paying attention. She's dropping these gems in the middle that you got to pause and marinate on. So continue.
So one of the things that you just, really pulled out there is that this need for a state of homeostasis, right? Meaning we seek a state of equilibrium regardless of how dysfunctional or functional it is. Right? So the way you can think of that is that, there's you have a thermostat in your house. If you have that thermostat set on 75, what happens is you've programmed it to adjust based on, the airflow of the house and the temperature outside and all of that. So sometimes it may kick on the air, the AC, and sometimes might kick on the heater, to bring it up, but it's going to do what it needs to do to stay at 75, regardless of how comfortable it is for the people in the room. Right? And so that's why you find a lot of times in families that it's hard to break out of states of what others may call dysfunction, is because it is their normative. So when you have, one particular, like, let's just say you have a particular person in the family that acts out, that, maybe has some type of habit or whatever the case is or what have you, even when they begin to change their behavior, the family has a hard time adapting because they've adapted to that behavior. They've adapted to the sporadic behavior. They're ready for chaos. And so when chaos doesn't happen, it upsets the equilibrium, right? And so what'll happen is that over here, where normally they're even keel, these people will start to shift the atmosphere and do things to create the same chaos or the chaos or mixed match of
Mm-hmm.
behaviors that they're used to.
Mm. That's
Uh-huh.
who can I it's interesting. 2 points there. First and foremost, somebody posted, actually it was a brother of mine, there's a buddy of mine that's a therapist out of New York named Aaron Muller. He goes by the Black Therapist on Instagram. He dropped
Mm-hmm.
something and he said that children raised in chaos grow up to be adults who are triggered by peace. So that's one, which was powerful, and it kind of connects to what you're saying there. But then you also mentioned the concept of equilibrium. And when you were talking, my mind was thinking about the human body. And what people don't realize is, yes, 98.6 is the average, body temperature or whatever. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality is, when you have some type of infection going on in your body and your temperature goes up, folks don't understand that is your body's defense mechanism to get rid of that infection. And so we always are quick to take something to get our temperature down. But the reality is your body raises its temperature to, in essence, burn off that infection that's going on. And what you don't realize as well for a lot of people is when you get chills, the chills are another defense mechanism to cool your body down. That's why you sweat. You sweat to cool your body down. When things get too hot, your body sweats. When there's an infection going on, your temperature goes up, and that's a protection mechanism, right? And then when it's time for you to rest, your body temperature drops so that you can slow down your autonomic function. What I'm saying is 98.6 is average, but the reality is you're not supposed to stay at 98.6 perpetually. Sit on that for a second.
Yes.
It's interesting. Like, as you were talking, I was like, wow, because we automatically assume that we're, like you said, 75, we want to stay at 75 our whole life, right? But it's like you might average 75, but there are going to be times in which you're going to go outside, it's going to be 105. There are going to be other times in the winter where it's going to be 32. There are going to be times where it's a little chilly because the heat ain't working right, or it's going to be times in which the air ain't working right. It's going to be a little warmer. It might average 75, but you're not supposed to stay at 75 day in, day out for the rest of your life.
Change it up. And even thinking in terms of, how important it is to go outside, like to only breathe in and to be in air conditioned spaces for extended periods of time is not good for your health, your mental health, or any of it. Like we need you to go outside and smell the fresh air, the real authentic air of the earth, as fresh as it can be with all the other pollutions and stuff. But all of those things are so important. Even in terms of breathing in the air that we breathe. Like there's healing in the air. There's healing in breath.
Ooh, there's healing in breath. Literally, you're dropping gym after gym after gym. And, the thing is, a lot of the gems you're dropping are coming from wisdom. And a lot of this wisdom comes from obviously training and all, but it's also come from life experience. And you mentioned, as a kid, overcoming some of the challenges of having a unique entry into the world. Take us a little bit further. So, you entered school, you started understanding, came to the realization that you were unique, after going to school. But then, you came into adulthood and, kind of matriculated a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about life, some of your challenges, successes, and, what kind of led you to becoming the Reverend Olivia Dorsey Tate.
So that unique kind of transition in elementary school really was kind of the beginning of this evolution period, because what happened is that I was born into a family that taught me that I was, everything. Like I was just, just wonderful, beautiful, all of those things. I was really blessed to have that. And then I had kind of these lies that were planted, because of this environment that I was in that wasn't ready for me. And so then there became this period in my life of, trying to understand myself in each of these two contexts, right?
Yes.
And so really, that is kind of like, I would say in middle school is when, although I couldn't name it at the time, is probably when I dealt with my first bouts of depression. And so and what's unique, or what's beautiful is that throughout our lives, we've always been in church. Like, if I spent the weekend, at grandma's, or if I was at home, we were going to be at somebody's church, on Sunday morning or what have you. So my connection with the church and with faith was rooted, from the very beginning, rooted in my family or what have you. So then when I'm having these feelings of like, perpetually not feeling good enough, not fitting in, not loving my body, not loving, the way that I was created. Like, yes, the Bible, Psalm 139 talks about how we're fearfully and wonderfully made, that we were knitted in our mother's womb. Yeah, you knitted me, Jesus, but why you couldn't just knit me like you knitted everybody else, right?
That's real.
So that there was this conversation, there was this struggle between what I knew and understood about, my faith, and what I was feeling and what I was dealing with and what I was struggling through, right? And so that was probably, because of that experience, is probably when I was first kind of interested in something more. Like, there has to be more to this than what I understand. There has to be an answer. There has to be something more to this faith and this journey that I'm on, that is just not being answered. And so, particularly within the Black church, mental health is taboo.
Yep.
Right. We got to be able to pray it away. If you're sad, then there's something wrong with you. You need to go to the altar. You must be sinning. You must have, you must have done something that you need to go and correct, and this, that, and the other, because that is what we've been taught. Wow, we've been taught not to trust the medical field. We've been taught that, faith overrides everything. And even when we think about it historically, when you read historically, there was a belief at one time that if you had any type of mental condition, that you were within the faith context, that you had demons. So if you had demons, it was like the lepers in the Bible, where we got to put you over here. You can't hang out with, the regular, the normal people, right? Normal is perspective, right? So you can't hang out in this space. We're going to put you over there. So although we're not treating people like lepers in the same sense as we read about it in the Bible, we are still treating people like lepers. We're still wanting to put them in asylums. So asylums are no more, but that's what they did for a while. Put people in asylums, right? Because we don't know what to do with you.
Yep. Wow.
So we just gonna set you over there. So now that's illegal. You can't do that. So now we just not gonna give you resources. We're not gonna give you jobs. We're not gonna. We still aren't gonna deal with you. But now you're just out here. And of course, in this scenario, I'm talking about those with more, severe challenges or what have you. But do you know that 1 in 5 Americans are diagnosed with a mental illness every year? 1 in 5.
Put a pin in that, because you said one word that people need to be mindful of. You said 1 in 5 are diagnosed. So when you think diagnosed, that means that's 1 in 5 actually have gone to their healthcare provider, have gone through the various protocol. They've pulled out the DSM-5. They looked at this and done that and done these surveys and this test and that test. Now we have a clinical diagnosis. That's 1 in 5. Let's think about the other 4 in 5 who don't even go. So when you think about the number of individuals who are impacted by some type of mental health challenge in some way, shape, or form, 1 in 5 are legitimately diagnosed. I'm just throwing a guesstimate. You could probably double or triple that number if you really got an accurate number based off of folks who don't even go or don't even have access to a healthcare provider.
That's key. Access is key. Access. Mm-hmm.
Mm,
And particularly within the Black community, that's
Mhm.
just really a challenge because of the deep rooted, understanding of, we don't trust anybody, and rightfully so, because we're
Mhm.
dealing with, the
History.
racial trauma and things of that nature. So although we didn't live through the Tuskegee experiment, our ancestors did. So
Mhm.
so that stuff is, and trying to summarize that, but that stuff is in us.
Mhm.
Like, we know that fear and those that traumatic experiences, those things have been passed on to us. So there is this thing of like, okay, well, I don't trust them, and plus, my faith is all I need. All I need to
Mm.
do is pray. I need to read my Bible more. I need to speak scripture over my life. And listen, I'm Team Jesus, and I know the power of Holy Spirit indwelling in us. Absolutely. I also know that when I have a headache, I'm gonna open up a bottle of Tylenol and pop 2 pills.
Mhm. That's
Question,
that is
and ain't
powerful.
nobody gonna side eye me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Nobody's gonna side eye me. But meanwhile, when my brother is out here struggling because he's got unprocessed trauma from his childhood, and he hadn't learned how to fully love and embrace somebody because he's afraid of what happened to him then happening again, but he can't name it though, because we can't, especially for the brothers,
Mhm.
because they've been groomed. You guys have been groomed from the time that you were little babies. Stop crying.
Mhm.
Don't cry. Man up.
Mm.
You can handle this. So then these boys grow up into men that don't know how to cry
Mm.
and don't know how to express their feelings. But there is healing in tears.
Mhm.
There is healing, because what happens is that we have emotions pent up in our body, and they are expelled from our body through tears.
Mm.
And it's not necessarily sadness. Sometimes it's anger.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's fear.
Mm.
Sometimes it's disappointment. It's a myriad of emotions that we can feel that we haven't been given permission to acknowledge. And
Mm.
so we hold that stuff, and then when they say, oh, well, we've got the highest level of high blood pressure, because we holding all this stuff.
Mm. Mm.
we
Man.
we don't have the tools to expel and to express and to heal.
Mm. So I got a question then, since, because again, this is brothers learning from sisters, and you hit the nail on the head that as men, as boys, we're taught to man up. You know what I'm saying? You're taught to, you got broad shoulders for a reason. You're supposed to put all this on your shoulders and carry it. But there comes a time in which you do have to release. You do have to rest. You do have to decompress. You do have to kind of let it go and exhale, so to speak. We do have to find those avenues to do so, right? So from your perspective, I mean, looking at the intersection of faith and thinking about it from a clinical therapy perspective, it's like, how does a brother who has never felt like they've had the permission to let go, what is a first step that a brother can take to give himself permission to let go, to give himself permission to, to realize that it's okay? Because I think the step one is giving yourself permission, because we can't wait on the world to validate, because the world, no matter what's going to tell you, man, put your damn hard hat on and you get out there and you better stop all that crying, go knock that thing down. You better fight, dude. You better, man, hey, you better fight. You better not let nobody say nothing like that. I mean, that's what, and I'm saying that almost like a subliminal message, but as a dude, that's the messaging that gets put out to us continuously. So how do you, as a dude, give yourself permission to say it's okay for me to let go?
I think it is just what you said. It is doing this check-in with yourself to say, dang, that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, oh, I don't care. I'm good. I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
No. That hurt. Man. Or even tapping into your childhood experiences, like, man, the fact that my dad wasn't never there for me, that hurt.
Mm.
Instead of, I don't care, I don't need that dude. No, you did need him.
You know what? Check this. I want to take and spin it a different way. Because it's brothers learning from sisters, but it's gonna be a lot of sisters that watch this as well. And there'll be a lot of sisters who are married to, connected to, dating one, the mother of one, friends with one. They're gonna be friends with a brother. And how can, and you now speak to sisters on how can y'all help to encourage this brother to give himself permission, or how can you utilize your, influence to help him give himself permission to realize that it's okay?
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say, and I actually say this to sisters very often, is that, have you given him permission to tell you how he really feels about that? Like, you're upset that he didn't show up. Why didn't he show up? Like, have you had a conversation, given him the opportunity to maybe tell you what's really going on there? Like, what is the reason why he's resisting making a commitment in that relationship? Like, let's talk about your experiences with relationships. Let's talk about what you saw between your grandma and your granddaddy, or your mama and your daddy. Let's talk about this past relationship where you were in this relationship for years, and how that looked for you. So being able, just being a safe place. And even one of the things that is really helpful is making an agreement beforehand that we're gonna hold space in this time. We're gonna talk about, and we're gonna share, and we're gonna commit to not bringing it back up and not using it against the other person. Ooh. So whatever you tell me in this moment, I'm gonna put it in this bucket right here, and we're not gonna take it back out unless you say that this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it at this time.
Can I tell you what you just dropped right there? Now, ladies, this one's for y'all. I hope y'all are paying attention to that, because as you were talking, I thought about the whole concept of give an inch, take a mile, right? And the way that my mind works, the way that a lot of brothers' minds work, is that I don't want to give you no ammunition, because I know soon as I say something, it's going to be, yeah. Every time it's going to be a constant. And so it's just like, man, forget it. I don't even want to deal with it. So just let it go, and I'll just bury it, right? Or I'll find another outlet to let it go. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it's constructive, but the reality is I'll find another outlet to let it out, because I'm concerned with, if I give an inch, or if I open up this window, you're going to kick the door in. And every time I come in the room, you're going to want to have a 45-minute conversation about this one thing, but I'm struggling, right? And so, ladies, I hope you paid attention to that, because I think, as it pertains to communication between us, brothers learning from sisters, but then sisters can learn from this sister who is on the on the thing today. Agree to, okay, if we're going to open this up, we're going to keep this in this bucket here, and I'm not going to bring it up every so often, and I'm not going to use this as ammunition against you, because I think that's an issue that a lot of us have in relationships, is we don't want to bring something up, or we want to hide something that we think will ultimately become ammunition against you in a relationship. And it's not me against you. This is brothers learning from sisters, and I'm learning from somebody I'm building with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And really treating it as, when you think about like your friends, right? And how we have this relationship with our friends, and, there's kind of some unspoken rules about, what we're going to talk about and not going to talk about. Like, for brothers, I absolutely love the I don't know what I would name it, but the barbershop collective.
Yeah, the barbershop talk. Yeah.
Like, yes, because I know that is where a lot of healing takes place. Guys will go and sit, even after they've gotten their haircut or whatever the case is, or not even getting one, but just go and sit in the community, and they may call it trash talk, whatever the case is, but it is the place that they feel safe.
Yeah. Woo.
It's a place that they feel safe.
What I just said, that's the reason why the barbershop talk, that's the reason why, the homeboys want to go fishing, or that's the reason why we want to go and people want to sit out back and smoke cigars and drink cognac and just talk trash. It's the whole concept of it's a safe space, and I know whatever I say is not going to be held against me. It's literally a place where it's almost like therapy to an extent, because I'm able to release with no judgment, because because all of y'all know everybody's dirt. So you're like, look, I ain't gonna say nothing because you ain't gonna say nothing, right? So it's just like, it's real, but that's the whole premise of it. And I think, to your point, you really dropped the gem there for all of us in relationships to be mindful of if we're looking to help our partner feel safe, giving themselves permission to let go, is to first make them feel safe and let them know that whatever is said, look, I'm not going to use this against you. And I think, to you, again, as a clinical therapist, clinical counselor, and all of that, that's part of y'all's patient therapy, whatever it is, the relationship between the patient and the provider. That's something that you all bring to the table that we probably need to bring to the table in our own relationships.
Absolutely. So to that point, one of the greatest challenges that we have, a couple of things is that there are not obviously as many Black therapists, clinically trained therapists in the field, period. It has historically been dominated, or it looks like what our nation as a whole looks like, right? So it's not as many of them out there or available. And then it's even fewer men.
Right.
And so what happens often is that, when a man is, particularly a Black man, is willing to go, there's this challenge of finding someone that they can connect with, right? There's a challenge of finding someone that can understand their lived experience, because once again, the way in which you move about in the world is unique to your race and gender.
That's real.
There is no way around that. Slice it, dice it, however you want. But the way in which we move about in the world is directly connected to our race and gender. And so when we have to go into a space and we have to explain to this person our presence and our experience, then it becomes inauthentic, right?
You said a lot there.
And so what happens often is, and I liken this to, I'm gonna use it, I said the barbershop, and I can even say the same thing for the salon, is, people will go to a barbershop, and if the experience is not what they needed it to be, they're gonna find another barber. And they're gonna keep going until they find the one that they need.
But what happens when you only got two options and both of them options suck? So I guess, to your point there, again, let's keep this thing a buck and be for real on the practicality. Suppose there is, a brother that's needing a counselor, a therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist, or whatever, and you cannot find one in your local area that is, someone that you can directly relate to and connect with. And there's this challenge in healthcare where, you got licensure across state lines. And, so you might have a provider would be awesome, but they're in another state, so they can't legally, provide you services across the state lines and all of that kind of stuff. How would you, just from your perspective, recommend somebody then getting the therapy and counseling that they need? Because, again, it could be daunting. Like, you go as two Black therapists and you want to go to a Black male therapist, and there's only two in your area, or two, that you have access to with your insurance. That's another issue. What do you then say? Is it like, okay, do I just go ahead and go to somebody just to kind of get the ball rolling? Or what?
Well, see, where I was going with that is that a lot of times people will go the initial time and they won't go back because they had one bad experience. And so whereas with a stylist or, a barber, you're going to keep on going until you find what you need or what have you. And so we need us to be that insistent upon finding the right therapist for us, you know, because we want to look good, which is why we're going to do what we got to do to find, you know, our, you know, stylists and this, that, and the other. But we want to feel good too.
We want to be good. Might mean, be good.
Yes,
be good.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so that might mean you may go to somebody and not connect, but don't just not go anymore, right? Keep looking. And I'm gonna tell you, one of the greatest advantages, not the greatest, but one of the advantages to the state that we're in right now is telemental health has made therapy so much more accessible than it has ever been before.
Awesome.
Because now we can see clients in their home or on their lunch break, or you know, it basically in a way where they don't have to feel the pressure of, you know, or the discomfort of what if somebody sees me, because that's real. That's real. You know, we still got some work to do to destigmatize, right? So that's a real concern. But if you can see your therapist from your bedroom and have a conversation on your time, you know, we'll obviously schedule it or what have you, then why not give it a try? And it also means that you're not limited to who's available in your city.
Ooh, there you go.
Most of us are licensed in multiple states, and most therapists, many therapists, I should say, are still offering strictly telemental health, whereas before the pandemic, very few did.
Wow.
Very few did.
So pay attention to that, fellas, and ladies listening too. You know, don't feel limited to the 2 or 3 therapists that are just in your city, because you now have telemental health where you can literally have sessions on your phone, like a Zoom call pretty much, or a secure, you know, chat, whatever, you know, from your bedroom, from your car, on your lunch break, whatever, you can have that. And it also opens you up to the options, meaning you have therapists who are licensed in multiple states, not just in the state that you live in. So you might have to go through a couple to find the right one, but treat it like, and I love the analogy you gave, ladies, treat it like it's, you know, it's a hairstylist, because you ain't finna go a couple weeks with your head looking a mess, right? Same thing, fellas, unless you're like me, who's follically challenged. You know, I ain't been to the barbershop in 2 decades, but if you're like the brothers who go to the barbershop, you ain't going more than a couple weeks without getting your hair cut. Take the same initiative as it pertains to your mental health, right? It's not just about looking good. It's not even just about feeling good. It's about being good. And how good are you going to be if that mental internal work ain't done? So I love that. But be mindful. That's a really good gem to realize that telemental health is something that's exploded, and you're not limited to the options that you see in the phone book, if you have a phone book, that you see in the in the yellow pages. I'm dating myself.
And one other nugget with that is that all of them are not doing it anymore, but for a while, many insurance companies were waiving copays for mental health services as well. So when you talked earlier about access, you know, those are 2 things that that this pandemic has allowed to change, you know, in terms of our access. And then there are a lot of programs for people that do not have, you know, insurance and things like that. So I can send you a couple links after we get done or what have you, if you want to post them in the show notes. But there are opportunities for us to do well, because going back to this faith and mental health piece is we can have Jesus in therapy too. Like that seems real cliche-ish or what have you. But when I use the example of how we go to the doctor when we have any kind of medical condition, if we break a bone or what have you, we're going to go to the doctor. God has gifted those doctors and the pharmaceutical companies, the scientists, and the physical therapists. He has gifted each one of them in such a unique way to be able to service you and foster your healing.
That's real.
So whereas he is all powerful and all knowing and can do any and everything instantaneously, he often chooses to use people to do the work that needs to be done. And so if he chooses to use me as a clinical mental health therapist to help you live more free, or uses your heart doctor, to help you live without heart disease, or, to heal those type of things, then he's still God.
And just really thinking about it from the perspective of God has the power to do all of this, but he uses professionals, or he uses individuals who are gifted in different ways to do that. And one of the things that I was going to kind of, add to that is the fact that I was just listening to a podcast episode with, in this called Church for Entrepreneurs by this guy named Amos Johnson. It's a really dope podcast. And one of the things that he talked about on a recent episode was that God gives people the final say to make decisions. And so it's interesting in the sense of he has a power to heal it all in an instant, but he's also gifted different people with different things. So we're supposed to connect. But then at the very end of the day, he gives you the authority to make the choice and make the decision. So it's like that whole notion of I have to choose to go and seek therapy. So because he gives me the choice to do it, but then I have to choose to do it. But then he's gifted people with the skill set, the training, and the resources to go and help me to heal and get to my healing. But then in the midst of it all, he's really taking care of it all and orchestrating it. But he's wanting us to make that doggone choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that really is what it boils down to, because again, and I know that we are likely talking to a diverse audience, but I sit as a Black woman, and I bring all of that, to the table in terms of my personal, experience as well as my professional working. So I have primarily, even though I never marketed it this way, but primarily have worked with men and women of color. And so one of the things that continues to be a challenge is, one, we talked about the church issue, like how there is this stigma associated with, hey, go, you got to pray about it, you got to connect, you got to speak life over yourself and all this, that, and the other. But then you also have the family dynamic of, don't you be going out there and telling people our business. Don't, what go on in this house stays in this house, right? And so I remember years ago, our grandmother said we were talking about that quote. And she said, people always talking about what go on in this house stays in this house, but don't they know that includes sickness and diseases and all of that other stuff as well? She said folks need to open up some doors and let some of that crap out.
Ooh. What goes on in this house stays in this house. That's the good stuff. That's also the bad stuff. So if we don't open up some doors and some windows and let some of that ish out, it's going to stay in this house.
She said it right. I had to clean it up.
I know you cleaned it up. I know that's what she said. That's what I'm saying. I know you. I know grandmama. So she ain't say much like that, but every so often she dropped one. And so if we don't let some of it out, it's going to stay there. So again, fellas, ladies listening to, be mindful of that gem. What goes on in this house stays in this house, but that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes some doors and windows need to be open, and we need to turn the fans on to help it get out.
Absolutely. And sometimes we are less willing to do the work for ourselves than we are willing to do it for our children, right?
Whoa.
And so one of the ways in which we can break generational curses is to create a different lived experience for our children than what we experience.
Ooh. I love
right?
it.
So if we are emotionally well, then we are better equipped to rear emotionally well children.
Mm. Mm.
But
Create a
what
different
happens
lived
often
experience.
is our fears and our traumas are passed on to our children
Mm.
because we haven't dealt with it, because somebody touched you inappropriately when you were at, so and so's house. Now I'm not going to let my kids go over anybody's house. Well, you do have to be discerning
Mm-hmm.
about where you let your children go, but what's more important is that you teach them how to have a conversation and how to advocate for themselves and how to make decisions that will help them be safer.
Mm.
Because you're not going to be able to protect them always,
Mm.
but you give them tools. If you deal with your stuff,
Mm.
you will be more willing to give them the tools to deal with situations that will arise.
You just said create a different lived experience for our children. So when we think about mental health, we think about faith, when we think about you healing, growing, and developing, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the next generation, right? Like allow them to, don't be like me, be better than me. I'm going to figure out a way to heal. Again, I want you to heal for yourself. We want you to heal for yourself, like the real talk. But for some of us, maybe we don't look at ourselves that way. But if that's the case, don't do it for you. Do it for your kids. Do it for your nieces and your nephews. Shoot, if you don't have family that's direct, do it for the little kid down the street, because people don't realize how many folks are watching you, and they can see you go from this type of person to that type of person, and how just watching your evolution, how that helps them to then grow and develop and realize what's possible. Like so much is there. And so Libby, I call you Libby again. I know it's Reverend Olivia Dorsey Tate. So as we kind of wrap up our conversation, talk to us a little bit about what you have going on. I know you have a website, and you speak and do workshops and this and that. Tell us a little bit about what you have going on and how folks can connect with you, and if there's any kind of parting words for the audience here.
Absolutely. So, as Mike has mentioned, I am a licensed and ordained minister. So, I operate in that. Even though right now with COVID, we're not doing a whole lot out, other than virtually, right? And then, but I do speak. My specialty, although I do a variety of things or what have you, but my clinical specialty is in grief and trauma. And as Mike mentioned earlier, that is through my own lived experience, particularly with grief, whereas in the past, few years, I have buried, all of my grandparents and both of my parents. And so I had to live through that experience on my own. And so then it just kind of happened. But what's interesting about grief is we often associate grief with the loss of a person, but grief is the body's natural response to the loss of anything significant to your life, right? So like, say for instance, a divorce. A lot of times we try not to acknowledge this, but no matter how bad the divorce or how bad the marriage was, at some point it was good. And it was a significant part of your life. So even though you might be able to celebrate that the end of that relationship is here, the fact of the matter is your body is going to respond to that loss. And that's okay. That's okay. Right? So you can say, oh, she wasn't no good, no way, I didn't need her, and I'm saying divorce, but even, a relationship breakup, she wasn't no good, this, that, and the other. She was good at some point.
At some point. That's right. That's real talk.
And so there is loss there. So acknowledging and giving yourself space to grieve, and to feel all the feels, right? It's so important. is so important, because if we take the time to do that, go through that healing process, we are that much better for the next, whatever that is. Right?
That's real.
Last thing is, if I could just create, like, you know, and I could just make it happen and just do, I had all the money and whatever resources, every child would get some type of education and emotional health class, or be a part of something like that from the time they were at the latest middle school. So I say that to you and your audience is, get your child a therapist. Because no matter how great of a parent you are, there are some things that they're dealing with that they just aren't going to talk to you about. They are just not going to talk to you about. And so a therapist will teach them how to communicate, how to advocate, how to live their authentic selves, how to be able to navigate all of these emotions and different things that they are walking through in life. Give them tools that they will take with them throughout life, and then teach their children.
Get your kids a therapist. That's real, because they're not going to tell you everything, and they probably don't need to tell you everything. I mean, to be real, but that's extremely important. And so as it pertains to you know, as far as counseling, you know, grief and trauma specialist, but you also, you know, counsel couples and do relationship counseling and all of that. How can people get in touch with you? What's your website?
They can, my website is www.ladyoliviatate.com.
Gotcha.
And that's also all of my social media handles, as well as at ladyoliviatate.com.
Gotcha.
You know, without the .com.
Gotcha. So fellas, ladies, everybody, make sure to visit ladyoliviatate.com, and on social media, just search Lady Olivia Tate, and you'll see this beautiful picture of my cousin, and reach out to her, you know, let her know how much you really enjoyed the gems and the message that she dropped today. And if you're in need of the counseling, the therapy services, if you're in a state in which she's licensed in, she can help you out. If it's something else, she can help you out, or she can potentially refer you to someone who can, you know, help you out. And if you're needing a speaker to do some retreats and all of that stuff, definitely reach out. But visit ladyoliviatate.com and let her know you heard about her on Brothers Learning from Sisters. Because look, she's my cousin. I done known her my whole doggone life, and I learned some stuff today. So if I learned something and I done known her my whole life, I know you learned something too. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and again, I'm excited, you know, just for the opportunity to connect with all of you all, and that we are going to be well together.
We are gonna be well together. You know what? Ain't no better way to end this thing than that. Well, thank you so much, Reverend Olivia Dorsey Tate, aka Libby, my first cousin. And I thank you so much for spending time with us today. And make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, share this video out. Literally, Brothers Learning from Sisters is really changing the game, because we're really showing how sisters, dynamic, powerful sisters, are really bringing unique information to the table, and then helping us as brothers learn things from different vantage points. So continue to share this thing out, continue to support, reach out to Lady Olivia Tate at ladyoliviatate.com. You know, just connect with her, man. You can tell by this, she's a wealth of information. And until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise, and we'll get at you. All right, peace.
Peace.